Horizontal? Yeah, I think it is horizontal. Okay, here we go. So, I am a Duke owner for the past 6 years, and I'll give you my feedback on why you should not get a KTM Duke in 2025. So, this will save you a lot of money, time, and energy. So, let's get to it. So, the first one, unless you have a big pocket, don't buy it. The reason being, you're not just buying the motorcycle, it's just part of the engagement. What happens next is the total management. You have to do fueling every day, you have to change tires, change sprockets, because this is a performance mission. This is not like a commuter mission. Commuter missions are made for durability. It has to sit there, do the commuting every single day to take your wife, to take yourself to college, or whatever the reason behind it. So that is the reason behind all the commuter motorcycles, and the idea behind KTM itself and KTM G90 in specific is totally a different idea. That is, this is made for performance and it does it really well. That comes with a lot of maintenance cost. You have to remember, to have the best feeling with the KTM Duke, you need to have the stock tires. In my case, the KTM I bought had Metzlers. Those are bloody expensive. They die out real soon, but they're fantastic on the road. If you have a really good road, the last time I had visited Chandigarh, I think that is one of the best road I've seen. But I'm not sure about the speed limits and other stuff. But it is so good. You can have fun in such places with this motorcycle. But right now in Chennai, I'm not having enough fun because the roads are mostly, the lots of metro works and all going on, potholes. You know the drill, so I don't have to explain. It's bit ugly. But when you have nice roads, that's the best feeling you can get in a 390cc bike, 300, 400. I think currently in India, even at a 500 segment, this is one of the best feeling bike in terms of the boy in you. I'm not sure if you're a boy. I'm not sure if you're in 30s, 40s, or which age you're watching this one at. But if you have the boy in you still alive, this is the bike. I cannot recommend anything else over this because the amount of fun it's going to give, it's unique. You will not get it anywhere. And it's still affordable if you see. On the scale of a middle class budget, it's expensive. On scale of upper middle class budget, it's a doable bike. If you already own a house, if you have a surplus amount of money coming in, you can definitely have fun. And remember, these chain sprockets die out every 10,000 kilometers, up or down, depends on how you ride it. And depends on where you service it, because not all the service people service the KTM very well, because this is a performance machine. Even a tiny bit of adjustment in the sprocket can result in a very faster uh, change of sprockets, because I've seen that. I've changed sprocket in places. There are good service centers, there are bad service centers, and you can see it very clearly. And I've gone through the manual, to be true. I've gone through the entire manual, the service manual, how to do each and every single part of it. And with that knowledge, I know if somebody services it properly or not. And yeah, so the better service centers cost you little more money on that part as well. So that is one big reason, because it's fundamentally money in the end. And if you are in an edge, please don't buy a Duke. So remember that. And the second part is kind of again tied to money, but it's not directly tied to money. It is the mileage. See, this is a performance machine. Remember that. Never forget that it's a performance machine. This is not Honda CB 350 or Royal Enfield or anything else. This is a proper performance machine. These are built for that. This is so good that it eats the mileage when you take it for a ride in a very rash driving style. So let's say I'm having this Gen 2 390 Duke, and if I'm taking this for a ride, and there were times I used to get mileage of 25, 23 kilometers. And there were times I used to get a mileage of 33 kilometers. So the bandwidth here is too wide, so that when you ride it in a very gentler or very peacefully transiting from one gear to the other, the chances of getting a very good mileage is high. But if you are just rashing and going like super gear shifts, then it will drop super fast drastically, even drastically than you can think. It's that fast. I've tested it in the highway, I've tested it in the city roads, and even when I'm driving this in the city traffic with neck to neck traffic, the mileage goes very low because the engine gives you a very good mileage at the 4000 rpm. 4000, around the 4000 rpm. So if you're in the traffic just moving in 10 or 20 kilometers per hour, this is not the thing that you will want to have, because you will just be burning fuel for nothing. It's just pain in the ass. You just something happening already to me. I've seen this in my current rides. Every time I go a little longer, maybe 20-30 kilometers, I'm getting a better mileage. If I'm just roaming around in my own place, it's giving me like very less, like 25, 23, something like that. So that is one thing you should consider. So if you're spending on the maintenance, you're also spending on the fuel. You have to think that is 1 plus 1. It may look like a tiny bits, because when they add up, it becomes a big chunk and it becomes very tough to maintain. And let's say you are earning a very good amount of money, you have a surplus income flow and everything is set, go for it 100%. But if you consider, if you are not having a job tomorrow, will you be able to manage this bike? If the answer is yes, still go for it. If the answer is no, please don't. That's my kind advice, because that happened to me during COVID. I bought it just before COVID, and it happened after maybe 6-7 months after buying the bike. I was still able to ride it, but my income flow was very restricted, and that was a problem in the whole experience with the bike. So be reminded. So, as I said, follow those rules, you'll be happy. Because you pick a bike in 100cc or 250cc, then you tune it to the best, keep the best form of that bike, like the best tires, best engine oil, keep it always serviced. If you can maintain that all the time, even that can be a 125cc bike. If you can maintain the absolute best of that bike, keep that bike, buy that bike. So don't jump because you have some cash flow happening now. You want to just reach out to for that bigger bike, but you cannot maintain it. So go back to a smaller bike, have a full fun with it. If you ask me, there is Hornet 125, there is KTM 160, there is MT15. There is so much bike options available right now than it was 6 years ago. When I bought the bike, the game was completely different. There were very few bikes I have to pick this, so I picked the one. I loved it. I picked it. But every love comes with the maintenance. So be mindful of that. So the third one is you don't have the fun all the time. So remember that it is a fun bike. There is no matching of that fun element with this bike. But it's not fun all the time. In the traffic, you cannot ride more than what the traffic allows us to do, right? So what happens is that when you're standing in the traffic and your legs are burning because the radiator is boiling heat outside the system, and your legs are burning, you have to wear a pant all the time for sure, and it's pain. But the bike doesn't want to do that. The bike always want to go faster than what you're doing now. So the bike is not made for smaller and trafficy space. But the current one, I've had a test ride like maybe a year back. I was very satisfied with that. The gear ratio is different. It is much mellower than the Gen 2 KTM or even the previous generations. It's easy to track in lower speeds, but even then, it's a powerful bike. It wants to go faster. So remember that. It's not a thing that you will want to avoid this bike for, but that is something you can be concerned about, you know, uh, because not everybody wants to have fun all the time. So if you want to have a mellow ride at times, and then you want to be on the edge, maybe you can try some other bikes and see if that works for you. Something like a Kawasaki, which is expensive, but if you have the pockets, go for it because that's a very, very refined engine. And then if you want to have a pillion centric motorcycle, you want to have somebody sitting on your back, or you want to take somebody in random times. Short rides, okay, some 5 to 10 kilometers, fine. 20 kilometers, little discomfort. More than that, it's going to annoy the people in the back. I have sat on my own Duke. At least the current generation of Duke has a better seat. Little better. Not the best, little better. But mine, it's like a rock. So I liked it. As a rider, I liked it because it gave me that true feeling of connected to the ground. But consider a city with potholes and you feel every bloody thing on the road on your ass. It's not nice. It's not a nice feeling. You want to get away from that as soon as possible. Because this thing also has a very strong, rigid suspension. It doesn't, it's not soft. It's a hard suspension. It's the reverse of what you would see in a mid-range or so many motorcycles. Because why it's hard? Because it's made for that reason. It's a performance motorcycle. It keeps you in that edge. That structure, that particular design gives you that edge. That is the reason. So it comes at a price, right? So it comes at the price of comfort. It costs us comfort. So pillions are not happy with this bike. As a pillion myself in my own bike, I was never ever happy. Even for 5 kilometers, I was never happy. It's a pain in the ass to ride in this motorcycle as a pillion. As a rider, it's the best feeling you'll get in a motorcycle. And this is something very social intent oriented stuff. That is, it's not a bike that you can easily share with your friends. I say it. You cannot share with your friends. Why? Because you know the beast waiting inside the engine. And you know who your friends are, right? If you know your friends and what they will do, you will not be okay with giving this bike to anybody because it needs attention. It needs a kind of skill set to handle the bike, and that has to be earned. You buy the bike, you sit with it, slowly release the clutch, and you get the hang of the bike. It took me myself. It took me quite a bit of time. Similar to you, if you're buying this bike, it will take you some time to adapt to what and all it can do, right? And based on your understanding through the number of times you've ridden this bike, you will know what this do and how to stop it, how to rage it when needed. It takes time. This is not a motorcycle that you can jump in and just go on, at the first glance. So for those reasons, it's a little hard to give it to your friends. You won't be happy giving it to your friends. That's something I felt because of this particular reason. The earlier bike, the FZ 150, I was concerned about giving it to my friends, but I was never concerned about the safety of the bike or the person who's riding it because I know this is a bike that people can handle. People who used to ride Pulsar 150 can handle this bike. I mean, the FZ to 150. But the people who are riding a Bullet, people who are riding uh, MT-15 or any 150 or 200cc bike cannot handle this bike upright. You cannot just jump in and get to the throttle and master the skill in one day. That is something of my concern from my perspective. I've For those reasons, I've in the 29,000 kilometers I've ridden till date, I've not given this bike to anybody for this particular reason. Even if I give it to them, I'll just make sure it's a very short ride, and I'll tell them these things are there. Please be mindful. Don't accelerate. Don't do sudden braking, because I know the dynamics of the bike and what are the things they can do to reduce the risk while driving this bike. So these are my 5 important concerns if you are planning to buy a 390 Duke. So these are reasons. If these things trigger you, please don't buy them because it is a very intense bike. Truly an intense bike. I love the bike. I love the engineering behind it. I love the KTM brand itself because the way I see it, it's a evolving brand that's been thriving very well for the past at least 10 years. I've been seeing this brand because though they went bankrupt now for different financial or I don't know the structural reasons behind it. Let's ignore that. I just want to focus on the engineering side and the way it is made and all that. The amount of improvement they have given on these bikes is amazing, because from the time I've seen the first generation Duke, it's raw, it's super hot, even hotter than the current bikes, super rageful. It's much more mellowed down. It doesn't mean the core part is missed out. It is still there. It's just that it's domesticated in a way adaptable to humans. It was made for a different set of people back then. Now it's much more adaptable, easy to ride for most people out there. So if you are riding a 150cc bike, you should be fine with the current generation of Duke 390 or even the Adventure, or there are like so many different versions now. But back then we just have one bike and you pick it and you do everything with that. Now you have something for adventure, something for like super off-road and like whatnot. There are so many versions of the same bike I've seen in India, in the international. Like it's amazing to see. Like, oh my god, I wish I had these kind of options. But here you are. We have it at this point in time. I'm still happy about it. So, yep, just give me your thoughts about the suggestions I gave. And if you want us to drop us your questions in the comment, I can share you about my KTM experience, and I'll, I think I can give you some guidance regarding this particular bike, if not anything else. See you.